Hi guys, my name is Siobhan Evans-Egan. I'm a psychic spiritual medium and shamanic healing practitioner. I'm also an admin on the International Mediumship page where I will be posting this video because it's a community of like-minded people who are on their spiritual journey, discovering their medium abilities and their psychic abilities and working together to help understand them, support them. So my purpose of doing this video today is to talk about a subject that does come up a lot in readings and in platform demonstrations as a medium. And it's when we get someone from spirit world coming through that the audience or the person in front of us doesn't recognize. So this is kind of like, how do we deal with that as mediums, but also from a perspective of as a teacher who runs circles and teaches circles, how can we help our students understand it? Because everything I speak about is only going to be from my own experience. I don't have all the answers. I really don't. I don't know why things work a particular way and things don't. So I can only talk about my experiences with working with this as a development for every student in the lives of spirit, but also as a teacher who teaches and who runs circles. So where I started, I think my first kind of experience of seeing it would have been to go to spiritual churches to see people on platform. Before I began platform mediumship myself, which is standing on stage and working with an audience or online gallery event. And what I saw take place was some of the mediums would give out evidence, no one in the audience would take it, they'd go again, they'd add on more evidence, and no one would take it. And they'd go, all right, well, I'm going to let this spirit go if no one's taking it, and then I'm going to go with someone else. And that was kind of fine. I kind of looked at this. It didn't sit comfortably with me, but I felt very too inexperienced to even say why I think this should be doing or what should be happening. I just kind of felt it was very, okay, can't take it, next, blunt. But then over the years, I started seeing other mediums where they only give out the certain information, stuck with that information, and said that they were going to step back and let another medium up because they didn't want to let this communicator go. They wanted to understand it. So I was starting to see different things over the years of how people worked with it, and the possibility of things that could be causing it. So firstly, there's a few little things. For me personally, I have gotten people through spirit world that the person didn't recognize. At first I would panic and I'd be like, oh my God, it goes straight into your head. And you'd be like, well, why are you here? Why are they here? Why are they here? They don't. And this is where we forget the intelligence of spirit world, and we forget that we have to trust, in a sense, that they know exactly why they're here. They will give us the information that is needed to trigger for the person in front of you to recognize them. I have had great grandfathers come through that never met them, but they would give something evidential that the person would know about them or have heard about them. So this is just little things. I really honestly do not believe from my own experience that anyone from spirit world will come through not knowing the person at all. This that has nothing got to do, they just pop in. I absolutely do not believe in it. I believe that me as the medium, I'm not understanding my experience in which I'm experiencing. I'm not understanding the information. I'm not expressing it correctly, or it's simply down to the person who's you're giving the reading to just has what we call psychic amnesia, and they just cannot remember, or they're not taking it in, and they don't understand it. And that's kind of in a one-to-one. In a platform demonstration, when you're giving out information that maybe a person doesn't recognize, it has often come down to the things of, one, people in the audience don't want to speak up. They will listen to the information. And it's happened to me before, where I was given information and two people were taking it. It was chopping and starting, and I just knew something wasn't right. So I did what I could and left it. And then a person came up afterwards and told me they could take absolutely everything. They were just too emotional to stand up in front of everyone to take the information. Another, they just don't remember, and you might find out after the reading where they contact you going, yes, I can actually understand that, now I can take it. So as mediums, where do the cut-off point, where do we decide to, in giving a reading in a one-to-one experience? I've seen this happen, and it kind of makes me sad when I see it happen, where a medium will work with, say, I have a lady, gives information, you don't recognize it. Okay, I'll get someone else next, without fully understanding it. And this is the other thing where I've worked with other mediums and asked for their experiences on this. And the other experience is, if this happens in a situation, okay, relax yourself, come out of your head and get back into those beautiful senses. We have to stop trying to figure out how we're going to get the person to recognize, and trust the spirit will give that information for them to be recognized. But we also have to go through the greatest fear I feel as a medium for me was, when I began this, was, oh my God, what if no one takes the information? And you have to go through that. You have to learn through those experiences and what to do and how to handle it. Do we keep forcing the information onto the person? Do we keep looking for evidence backing up? So how do we handle that? How do we deal with that? So firstly, my own experiences, when I get a spirit, a person coming through, that I'm given the information and the person isn't recognizing it in front of me. They're like, no, I don't know who that is. No, no, no. So what I do personally myself is I relax myself, I trust, and I go, it's like, you don't want to go into your head asking questions, but on a soul level, you're kind of reaching out in a sense of going, I need something else to back that up. Can you help me understand this a little bit more? It's like if you were having an ordinary conversation with a human being and they were talking to us and we didn't understand what they said, or we weren't really fully understanding it. How would you deal with that? Personally, I would clarify and I would ask, I'm sorry, I'm really mixed up here. Can you help me understand what you're saying and understand it a bit better? And they might not give you the same sentence back. They could give you clarifying information and say it in a way that you'll understand it. And I feel with spirit world, how I work with that, it's the same for me. Now that's my experience. So I will get something to clarify it. Like recently I was reading for a lady, her brother came through, and he was giving this information that he was with a relative in spirit world, and the only thing that he gave that the person would recognize is that this lady always sat in a chair. Always. It was like every time you see her, it's your memory of her would be in a chair. No. This is mother's sister. No. And then I said, Anne is the name. Oh my God. So they will give things. So they will give information. So we have to know, when have we given enough as we can to trust, okay, we're getting information here, the person's still not recognizing it. When do we back off? So there's, as I said, there's a few things. So one, there will be clarifying information. Spirit will give you an experience for you to understand in order to either add on information or to clarify the information that you were given. Two, you can, of course, there will be family in spirit world that will step forward and maybe help this person, help the spirit to kind of step in and maybe add on to that information or clarify it. There's that way. Three, we have to accept it could be our heads making a lot of this up, and we have to accept that also. So we have to know when to go, okay, I'm going to back off. So normally with myself, what happens when I know it's not my head, if I'm not getting the clarification that I'm looking for, so I'll allow spirit to continue working with me, and maybe we'll go to something else in a spirit measure. We might go to someone else, but it's like it'll always come back. It's like it'll come back to it, or something will clarify the information during that. So the other thing that kind of came up was when people are mentioning ancestors in a reading. So mentioning ancestors in a reading, we have to remember our ancestors are our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our bloodline. So they are going to give information that you'll recognize. I worked with a lady a little while ago, her great-grandfather come in, she said, I'm sorry, I don't know much about him. I said, he was in the Irish Army. He was very proud Irish man. Absolutely, we know that of him. So information was given of that. So as a person getting the information, try a few things first. First of all, keep the information, like it needs to be evidential. We can't just go, well, I have a man here with dark hair and he has a walking stick. Do you know that? That could be anybody. That would be deeper of known. Would you have knowledge of your great grandfather who had conditions in his body that enabled his walking? Things like trigger. It depends on how we're giving out the information, but you will not, honestly, I don't feel we'll get someone that the spirit person, the recipient, doesn't know. So working through the information is a really good thing to clarify that. But we do have to know when enough is enough, and when we allow that to go, okay, I'm really sorry. Sometimes I've done it myself where I'm just not understanding, I'm not getting it, and I'm too in my head to understand it. And I have to release that and kind of let it go. And trust that spirit will find a way to get that information through to that person, whether it's through me or through someone else. So as a teacher running a circle, I've seen this happen, and it makes, as I said, it kind of makes me sad when I hear a student saying, well, my teacher told me just dismiss it and let it go, without fully trying. I really feel that that's the wrong way to help your students. I feel that we have to get over the scare part of being a teacher and maybe get in a situation that we're not sure how we'd handle. We have to trust spirit, even as teachers and mentors. We have to trust that. So we have to work with the person to make sure that they've gone through as much information as they can to clarify it. So allow your students, or even if it's ourselves that are doing it, to, okay, so I have a lady in spirit world, she's giving me this, give me that, I feel it's auntie, I don't recognize this person. Okay, I could be wrong with the relationship. So then we trust with what we're getting. Given descriptions, sometimes in readings, we end up going down a rabbit hole. So over the years of my readings, I've kind of stopped giving the descriptions as such, only if I know that there's something significant to it. Like when they show me their hair, there's a reason for it. So it's like one lady got his pure white hair. Absolutely. So there's reasons why they'll give a certain description. But sometimes I hear certain mediums and they get lost on description. Okay, so I have this gentleman with me. He feels like uncle. Do you know of an uncle in the spirit world? They go, yeah. Okay, so I'm going, hey, this man is tall, he's dark hair. What I see is tall might not be tall to another person because I'm small, so people are bigger than me. So we have to be mindful not to go down the rabbit hole too much into descriptions. We would be given something significant that the person will acknowledge. But say we go, okay, so I have a man, he has dark hair, blue eyes, and he feels like uncle. No, I don't know anyone of that. He's tall, he's wearing a suit. We're gone straight off into stuff. It's like we got stuck on the image and we're trying to describe the image instead of really understanding it. This is another thing we do that kind of be a little bit downfall. We try to describe what we're seeing to the person in front of us. And sometimes what we're seeing, in a sense, is to trigger the emotional part of us that will feel into this information to understand it better. But if we're just given descriptions and just giving what we're seeing to a person, they might not understand it. So I'm just bringing up this conversation that there is no complete solid way of doing this, but please don't dismiss the spirit person straight away because the person doesn't recognize it, because we don't like getting a no, so we panic and we drop it. To allow and trust the intelligence and spirit world to work with you and through you, that there is a reason and they will give information and we will receive it if we're open to it. 3, you can ask, in a sense, of the spirit family you're connecting with to help this person. Maybe another spirit form to help this person come in to clarify it. You might get someone new, or you might get another experience added onto what you've had that will clarify it. The person coming through might be just coming through a spirit family member to acknowledge the person in front of them and to admit that they never met them, but they will give evidence of their life that they're aware of. That's the other thing. So it's acknowledgement of, like, my great-great-grandmother. Obviously I've never met her, but if she came through, I don't know anything about this lady, but she knows something about me. So she would clarify that through that information. 4, don't load on the information go with what you have, stick with what feels true to you. And I feel that's when what feels true to me is that it'll kind of come back up once or twice, the information. I'll go, okay, this feels really true to me, so I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to leave this information with you. I hope it does come back and make sense. If you can clarify it, brilliant. If you can't, I understand it. And we trust it and we let it go. So we have to know when to work on it, and when we've done enough work on it to release it and kind of go, okay, so I'm going to ask for more information or another spirit family member to come in and clarify it. But I honestly, as a teacher running circles and things like that, it's important to work with your students, to allow them to work through what feels true to them, what doesn't, instead of just dismissing it. Because sometimes it's how we express the information that the person is not fully understanding it. So there's a mixture of things. So don't just dismiss it straight away, and don't allow your students just to dismiss it because you're afraid to go there as a teacher or a person who's running circles, because you're afraid to feel uncomfortable and maybe not sure. So there will always be information. I probably have about like a couple of thousand DNA generations in spirit world belong to me, but they're not going to come back in from 1,000 years ago. There's going to be someone who will acknowledge me and give the information. So I'm just, when we're using the words ancestors in readings, we need to be mindful of that when we're in a mediumship reading or a healing reading, because ancestors are our family. So even if they weren't here to acknowledge the birth of this person, they will give information about the person's life that they're aware of in spirit world. So they will back it up. So I just want to do this short video about that. So I'm not giving you strict ways, this is how it's done, that's how it's done. If I'm a spirit and I've died and I want to come true, and the person, the medium, is not recognizing me for my son or for my husband or for whoever the family member comes true, I'll do my very best, I'm sure, in spirit to get this information through. But if I'm working with the medium, and the medium will try once or twice and then dismiss me, it kind of makes me sad that happens. Because they've picked us in that moment. They've chose us in that moment to come true in that particular moment for the person that we're reading for. So in one-to-ones, we can have a little bit more leeway, especially in practice, to work on this. I remember doing a demonstration when I kind of first started out on my own, without, normally I'd work with other mediums, but this particular night was my first time to actually do it on my own, second time actually to do it on my own. And I stood up, I gave out evidence, and it was particularly type of evidence that so specific that it would only be for one person. No one took it. I stood there and I just felt this spirit, this person, the energy was so strong. I knew I could not let it go, but I couldn't understand it. And I felt I couldn't continue standing there giving out the same evidence and no one was taking it. So each time I got another clarifying information, but no one would take it. So I did something that I wouldn't normally do, and there was this particular night I was actually working with another medium. So I said to the audience, I'm just going to take a step back and work with this because I really don't want to let this person go. I feel there's something that I'm missing, so I'm just going to sit with this. And then the other medium got up, did his thing, and then let me get back up next. And I said, I still feel he hasn't left, so I'm going to continue. I gave information to back up, I added on, and a lady in front of me put up her hand and she said, I am so sorry. I can take absolutely every bit of that. I was just blindsided. I was so intrigued listening to your information that I didn't connect it that it was for me. So they kind of started messing with me after that went up. They call me the woman who wouldn't give up, and I don't give up. I will not till I know in my stomach and everything that it's time. Okay, I need to put this to the side. So it's not like I spend 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes still going on about the one spirit. I don't do that. I give it a couple of minutes, I give it the information that the best I can, and then I honour it and I continue on with my readings, but I move out of that space. If someone from spirit family pops in to give more, then brilliant. To be honest with you, I kind of always sort it out in a one-to-ones. It always ends up that it makes sense in the end. And in platform demonstration, I realized that there's other elements to it. One, the person doesn't want to speak up and give the information. I've had this happen a few times, and it's kind of shitty that people do that in a sense. Some I understand because they're very emotional, they're very vulnerable and frightened and don't want to kind of stand up. But if you're going to a mediumship demonstration, then you are saying, Spirit family, I'm here, I'm open. So, that doesn't help us as mediums when people do that. Also, I was reading at a demonstration and I was given information, one lady was taking it, and then I started getting no, no, no. And I knew when I was getting no, 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 I wasn't with the right person. So I had to trust that. I gave the information, I left it out there and let it go. And the lady came up to me afterwards because she worked in the arena, but because she worked there, she didn't feel and didn't pay for it. She felt that she couldn't take a message. So we're human, we're crazy. There's loads of elements. But the whole point down to is don't dismiss it straight away. Don't just dismiss the information and let it go. Work with what feels really strong in that information and stick to it. Like I was talking to another lady the other day and she got information and it came true, like as in indigenous kind of Indian healing. She wasn't quite sure what she was getting. She gave a name, and no one was making sense of it. So the person she said, let it go, dismiss it. And then a lady at the end told her that was the name of her horse. So there's ways we're getting information, but sometimes as mediums, we get caught up in the images and the feelings and the sensations, and we're expecting the person in front of us to understand those images, when the images are messages in itself for us to try and translate out. So there is a few things to it. There's no straightforward cut and dry, but it's to work with it, honor it, and know and believe in the intelligence of spirit world. You are not going to get someone through that does not know the person. It's just, why would that happen? But us as mediums, we could be focusing in our head where we're trying to get information to the person understand, instead of allowing the soul to blend. We might not be blending correctly, sitting in the power correctly. So there's a few things that goes on with this. So do your best to work through it when it happens, when the experience happens to you. Don't give up too quickly, but obviously don't spend 15 minutes or 20 minutes kind of working on it, and know when, okay, I need to leave this to the side. So 1, give out your information. 2, stick with the information that feels really strong to you. 3, if the person is not, if it's not working too well, you can ask a family member in spirit world to help this person to clarify or to come through. So there's different ways, and we can leave the information with the person that can possibly get back to us, and we trust it. But back down to the fact of, don't just dismiss it, and don't just think that spirit's just going to come in and the person for no reason, absolutely, and doesn't know the person. If they weren't around for the birth of that child, they will give you evidence of their life, and that's kind of, for me, that's how it's worked with me. So I'm called a woman who doesn't give up, and I won't till I fully understand where I've gone wrong or what's going on with this. But I also have to know when to go, okay, I've done my part. That's all I can do. And as a teacher, I would encourage my students, I would work with them gently, with the information to have, and then know when to go. Okay, we've gone as far as we can with this. We do have to let this go. So I hope that's helped in some way, shape or form. So enjoy your day, guys.